Hello and welcome to Parenting Uncensored, a show brought to you by CCARE IHK, where we believe in community support on this beautiful journey to motherhood. And today in studio, we'll be having heartfelt and candid conversations about preconception. I am joined by a doctor and a mother. Let them introduce themselves.
Thank you. I'm called Dr. Nsubuga Mushin, an obstetrician and gynecologist at CCARE IHK.
I'm a mother. My name is Bithum Michelle.
So, as a young lady, you want to conceive, you've been looking for a partner, and now you finally got a partner. I'm sure you've been wondering and having so many questions on your mind. How do I conceive? Where do I start from? What do I do? I am going to be having your questions answered with experts and, of course, people who have experienced this. So we're going to be talking to Dr. Mushin to find out more about preconception. As a lady of, let's say, 26, I found a man. I want to know now, what do I do before I even plan to conceive with this man? Tell us more about preconception, Dr. Mushin.
Thank you very much. Preconception is a very interesting topic and idea. Many mothers, about 4 out of 10 mothers, conceive when they are not prepared. And this can be a very scary experience. So preconception is very important. Anyone who is planning to go on this journey should be able to visit their doctor, discuss about their health, and see how this is going to lead to a good outcome of a good baby and a happy family at the end of it all. This journey starts far, far away when someone is still young in their parents' homes, because it involves a lot of things like nutrition. A woman who is planning to have babies in future should be able to feed well, to have their bodies grow, such that their bodies are able to carry these babies, and this should facilitate them with childbirth. So nutrition is a very important aspect and starts in the family. The other aspects are during womanhood. When a lady reaches their reproductive age, there are these important aspects they need to consider. Number one, if they find their partner, they need to ask themselves, are there congenital diseases? Are there these diseases or conditions that someone was born with that they can pass on to their children? And this can be either in the woman herself or in her partner. Take an example, sickle cell disease. This should be screened before people think about conceiving. Why? Because if we know that one person has such a condition, we can be able to prevent it. The other important aspect is that there are certain diseases that may not be congenital, but someone has them. For example, diabetes, high blood pressures. And these need to be optimized before someone conceives. Why? Because if they are not controlled, then this may affect the ability of the mother to successfully carry a pregnancy, which may be even more dangerous to her life, leading even to death. Other than that, there are certain diseases that we should be able to vaccinate against. For example, hepatitis B. These are some of the things someone should look out for. And if someone doesn't get such information, many a times they may not be able to look out for these things. We may be on certain substances, for example, alcohol, marijuana. Someone needs to consult with their doctor and be able to stop these as early as possible to be able to prepare for pregnancy. The other important thing is that there are certain important medications that someone may be on. For example, if someone is taking epilepsy medication, once they conceive, there are certain adjustments in these medicines that we may need to do. Or people who have thyroid disease, we may need to change some of these medicines to other types of medicines that are good for pregnancy, that are not going to interfere with the baby formation in the mother's womb. Other than that, a couple needs a lot of education before conception. You realize that pregnancy is a good thing because at the end of it all, we get to get a baby. But it comes with challenges. And this is a journey. So a couple needs to be told about such a journey. For example, they need to know what to expect. When I conceive, in the early trimester, I may have these challenges like vomiting, nausea, such that they are not freaked out. They can comfortably sail through. A partner needs to be taught, the male partner, how to support the pregnant mother. Otherwise, a pregnant mother needs a lot of support, social, physical, emotional, and the nearest person who can give this is the husband. So if we interact, we are able to teach people about such things. So preconception is a very important aspect before someone thinks about conceiving.
So you've talked about something very, very interesting, people. I've realized that many a time we can, try to conceive, and before you think about it, we never consider all these things. Man, your blood type, are you sick of any disease? As long as the person has no HIV, the woman it's a go, you're going to get pregnant. But we don't consider so many things in life. We don't consider sickle cell anemia, we don't consider diabetes, we don't consider epileptic or any other congenital diseases from our partners. We shouldn't be afraid to check our partners. If you're in this for the long run, if you're going to get married, if you're dating for the long run, and you're going to think about having babies, we need to think about checking all these things before you think about conceiving. Check your partner's blood type, check your partner's blood group, check your partner's blood for any congenital diseases, so that you're sure about the children you're going to have. Because at the end of the day, I think the bills get more expensive if you have children that are going to have sickle cell anemia and are going to have, let's say, any congenital diseases from your partner's side of the family. Most diseases are hereditary, so to speak. You might be in love, yes, but we have to check before we conceive. So I need to know, though, how do I know if it's not safe for me to have a child with my partner?
Oh, thank you very much. Many a times this journey starts in a sweet way. So by the time you realize that you don't want to have a child with your partner, chances are high that probably, you already have a child. However, the ideal should be, once we start and we talk about now we want to have a child, the next step should be, let's go to visit a doctor. The doctor is able to break it down for you. That number one, we have to understand certain stories in your family line. Mm-hmm. So you get to tell us the stories, probably your father, do they have certain diseases, and so on and so forth. Then we are able to advise, I think now we need to do this. And maybe I should say this, preconception care is a broad thing, but it can be personalized depending on the story as we chat. We call it history. So as we take history, we are able to personalize what you're going to have, okay? But there are those basics that a must do. For example, HIV, hepatitis B, sickle cell disease, your blood group. These are very important things. So once we do these things, we counsel you and we tell you about what are the chances that, for example, let me take sickle cell disease. If I have sickle cell and my partner doesn't have sickle cell disease, he's not a carrier and also doesn't have sickle cell disease, but for me, I'm a typical sickle cell disease patient. What will happen is that we can have some normal children, we can have some babies who are carriers, but no baby will be a sickle cell disease. Therefore, from that, we are able to understand, can we go ahead with this or not? However, if I'm a sickle cell carrier and my partner is also a sickle cell carrier, and we find out preconception, that means before pregnancy, then we can make very important choices for our next generations, whether to go ahead with this kind of relationship into marriage or into having children or not. And if we decide that we are going to have children, then we shall know that there are chances to have children who have, for example, sickle cell disease. And what does it mean to have a child with sickle cell disease? We shall know that this child will be sickly, we shall always be in and out of hospital. And if we are ready to take on this journey, we take it on knowingly. And that's the most important thing.
Are you trying to say you're encouraging people who have sickle cell disease to have children?
Actually, even people with sickle cell children must have children or should have children. But they should have children, it's advisable that they have children with partners who are not sickle cell carriers or sickle cell disease. Now, this is where preconception comes in, whereby when you come for preconception counseling and checkups, we are able to tell you about your status, the status of your health. And thereafter, you make important decisions that it's true we are going to have children who have sickle cell and we are ready for it. Or, I don't think we are ready for children with sickle cell. I think we should part ways, or we should continue without having children. But the other very important thing, preconception prepares us mentally, physically, but also health-wise. So you realize that health-wise, if I have sickle cell, I'm treated. If I have diabetes, I'm treated and it's controlled. But mentally, is I get to understand what does it mean to be pregnant when I have diabetes? How many more visits will I have during antenatal? Very many. If I have sickle cell, what does it mean if I'm having a child with someone who is a carrier, that I'm going to have a child with sickle cell? Then mentally I'm prepared to have this child, and in case they have sickle cell, I'll always be in and out of hospital. Or else I make my decision that, you know what, I don't think that we should have this child, probably we should part ways, and you have another person who is not a carrier. I also find another person who doesn't have a sickle cell, who is not a sickle cell carrier. I'm using sickle cell as an example.
It's very common, yes. So just to be clear, I know most times we fall in love with people and we think this journey is going to be beautiful, and we tend to ignore the fact that our partners could be having some diseases that could affect our preconception process or conception process. But I believe with the guidance of hospitals and care, we should actually go check up before we kind of plan to conceive, because at the end of the day, the journey is meaningful when you're all happy and healthy with your children. I would like to introduce to you a mother who has gone through this, and I'd like to share an experience with her so she can tell us more about it. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I would like to know, was it easy for you to conceive?
Yes.
How was your preconception journey? We've talked about checking sickle cell anemia, diabetes. Did you have that time to think, okay, I'm in love with this man and I think I want to have babies with him? Do I go now and check his blood type and everything? Was your man open to, say, suggestions of going to check up in the hospital? How easy was it for you?
We actually thought about checking for HIV. Then about sickle cell, we didn't know about that. We only realized when we went for our first antenatal that we were supposed to check for most of those things, but we didn't know about it.
See, many times generations have ignored the fact that they should have checkups before they conceive.
Yes.
Would you have gotten scared, let's say, if you went and checked and your partner had maybe a congenital disease?
Of course. Like, no parent would want to have a suffering child. Like, it is a nightmare to see your child in hospital all the time. So I would better part ways with you than having a child that is going to suffer. Let me say, having a child that is not going to live for long, because of course, one of the first things you think about is death. Because you're going to have this child, you're always in hospital, then out of the blue, you're so attached to this child, and of course, the child is gone.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't do that. I would at least go and find another partner.
Okay, how easy was it for you? Okay, how easy was it for you to convince your partner to go to a hospital to have these checkups done?
No, it's actually the doctor that said, because we didn't know, we just went for antenatal, our first visit, because we used to hear a parent is supposed to go for antenatal, especially when you conceive. So we just ran into hospital to like open up a file because you're pregnant. So then the doctor was like, we are supposed to have, I think he called it blood screening, something like that. So that's how we got to realize we are supposed to go through different tests.